justified. Unless you willingly stand down now.
Fucking vault dwellers.
Well, now that is a very small drop in a very, very large bucket of drugs.
With the Fallout television show airing on April 11th, I thought now would be a good time to break down the trailer and talk about the lore within it. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, I have seen many people trying to tell the lore of Fallout when reacting to this trailer, and I was astonished at just how little people really knew about the games. Many of these influencers were basing the lore off of what they knew from Fallout 3 and later. This is a mistake that they made, as they simply didn't take into account that there were 3 other games, the only other ones that count anyway, prior to Fallout 3 being made, and thus the lore is a bit different than they thought. The show is going to focus on 3 main characters: Lucy, the Vault Dweller from Vault 33, Maximus, the Brotherhood of Steel Soldier, and Cooper Howard, who is the ghoul and a bounty hunter featured in the trailer. In one promotional video, we see all 3 of the main cast interacting. The scene takes place in the shack town called Philly. We see Lucy attempting to talk the ghoul bounty hunter into standing down. In this moment, we see the results of a failed speech check by Lucy. Shortly after, Maximus enters the scene to help end the conflict. Now, you might be thinking that the ghoul doesn't seem to be a friendly character, and that may be right, but I would consider what he has been through. He was around before the bombs fell, and so he has seen the world change. He has lost everyone he ever cared about, and now finds himself unable to just die of old age. It's enough to drive a person mad, and yet he seems to be holding it together and adapted to the world around him. The trailer opened up with the pre-war actor by the name of Cooper Howard, who was filming an advertisement for Vault-Tec. The lights then come up revealing Vault 4, which then has interlacing cuts with Vault 33, the vault where the show's Vault Dweller comes from. We then see Cooper exit the elevator and walk down the residential hallway inside Vault 4. The shot then changes to a post-war, where we see the shot of the Vault 33 near the ocean, and a broken down pier, and some ramshackle buildings in the background. Then we see it, the shot that drove New Vegas fans into a frenzy. A crater with a burnt sign that is labeled Shady Sands Public Library. Now, as we all know, Shady Sands is a post-war town founded by the residents of Vault 15. You see, in Fallout 1, the Vault Dweller from Vault 13 is sent out into the wasteland in search of a water chip because his vault's chip was failing. One of the first places we find in our journey is this small town known as Shady Sands. This town is plagued by rad scorpions and raiders, and their well is broken, so they need quite a bit of help. This is one of the points where I personally have an issue with the established lore. You see, if not for the Vault Dweller, Shady Sands would have been destroyed. But somehow, after the Vault Dweller saves the town, they became the most powerful nation-state in the wasteland. Don't get me wrong, someone was bound to build a military force sooner or later, but Shady Sands? No, this one never made sense to me. This is something I will have to continue in a more dedicated video on the subject. For now, let's get back to the trailer. The next few shots show the Vault Dweller exploring the wasteland, but the audio is the important piece.
The mission of the vaults should be important to everyone. To come up to the surface one day and restart civilization.
I am sure that this dweller will learn some things about Vault-Tec during the course of the series that will change her mind, but for now, she is a typical Vault Dweller. Naive, sheltered, and lacking some of the most basic knowledge needed to survive in the wasteland. Like any good player character though, she is ready to try. The show seems to blend what we as players would experience while playing the games with cinema. Players will notice things that the casual viewer will miss, but there is something in this for everyone. The Fallout TV show will take place 219 years after the war. This places the storyline 9 years after Fallout 4. So far, we have seen very little in the way of civilization, and the only thing we see of the so-called Great NCR is a crater where Shady Sands used to be, and what remains of the faction seems to be holed up in an observatory. Now, in terms of set design and world building, the show looks amazing. Everything looks like it came right out of the games, right down to the smallest of details. There are things that I've seen some questioning, like the Brotherhood of Steel airship. Yes, it looks like the Prydwen, and I of course know how that ship was built. However, it would have been built based on designs from the ships that were used to fly the soldiers on their expeditions to the east. There are more things that I'm sure will pop up during the course of the series, and I will be here to shed light on the lore. There were many more shots in the video that showed more locations, but nothing too in-depth. The biggest questions are around the Brotherhood of Steel and the NCR. Now, these two factions have been known to have their problems in the past, and that is well documented. The NCR seemingly rose to power very quickly and took control of much of the southwestern United States territory. In one line of text in Fallout 2, the NCR had absorbed multiple territories, including one called Maxon. Now, the territory of Maxon is not described in any detail, but it is presumed to be the area that was known as Lost Hills in Fallout 1. I think this piece was just propaganda, as this entry does come from the NCR itself. I think they considered it part of their territory, but they never really controlled it. I hope the show discusses this, or at least lets us know what happened that pushed the Brotherhood out of what they once were into what they are now in the show. You see, the Brotherhood started out as a paramilitary faction that decided technology was what brought humanity to its knees, and that only they were to be trusted with it. They cared very little about other factions that were fighting for power. There certainly was division within the Brotherhood, because even in Fallout 1, the Elders were not able to agree on much, and it was always Elder Maxon who had to force them to make any decisions. This leads me to believe that at some point the Brotherhood was able to change its mandate of hoarding technology to becoming the protectors of humanity, or at least some variation of that. This must have put them at odds with the NCR, as they cared only about themselves and the power they had over others. It is entirely feasible that the Brotherhood could have hit the NCR in such a way that they crippled their entire empire in a single blow. I think this is where the crater comes into play. Shady Sands was the capital of the NCR and thus housed its governing body. Dropping a nuke on it would have caused the devastation we see in the trailer and brought down the entire NCR in one move. This would have caused the remaining troops to retreat, and I think that they moved their faction's headquarters to the Griffith Observatory. I also think that this war between the NCR and the Brotherhood will be one of the main stories being told in the series. Overall, I am pleased with the cast, the design, and the tone of the show. I will be covering the lore as time goes on, since the show is canon, and it will shape the future of the Fallout franchise. What do you think of the show so far? Are you excited to see more? Sound off in the comments below. While you're at it, like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.